Instagram, a company with only 13 employees, bought today by Facebook for $1 billion.
Instagram is one of the most widely used social media apps in the world today. It has more users than most others combined and is the leader of the photo-sharing social media space, even more so than Snapchat. However, most people associate the app with Mark Zuckerberg, Facebook's founder and CEO. After all, he is always the person representing Instagram when it comes to press releases, scandals, and Senate hearings. But if you are curious to know who are the actual founders of Instagram, stay tuned, because that's exactly what we will be talking about. In this video, you are going to discover who are the founders of Instagram, why they decided to sell it to Facebook, and also what they are up to today. But before we begin, smash that like button and subscribe to the channel. And if you like this type of content, also hit the bell notification icon so you don't miss any of our upcoming videos. And without further ado, let's get right to it. Stanford University is located in the heart of Silicon Valley, the world's capital of the tech industry, and it is a place known for being home to some of the most brilliant minds in the world. People such as Sergey Brin, William Hewlett, and even Reed Hastings, Netflix CEO, have studied there. And to no surprise, it was also here that Kevin Systrom and Mike Krieger, the two co-founders of Instagram, met each other. They met each other at a fellowship program back in the early 2000s, and they soon became close friends. Unfortunately, their friendship didn't bear many fruits right out of the gate, and life went on as both of them finished their studies. They kept in touch even after their studies finished, since both of them went on to work in the vibrant tech startup industry in Silicon Valley. For instance, Kevin Systrom has worked at Google, Odeo, a news and podcast aggregator website that later morphed into Twitter, and even has received several job offers from Mark Zuckerberg himself to work in Facebook on its early days. However, he didn't accept Mark's offers because he wanted to take a few semesters off and focus on honing his photography skills. Now, it seems like only a crazy person would decline multiple offers to work side by side with Mark Zuckerberg, but that goes to show you how much passion Kevin Systrom had for photography. Systrom was also a very brilliant programmer, and so he later decided to merge his two passions into one and create his own photo-sharing app called Bourbon. Bourbon was like a mixture of Facebook, Fourspace, and MySpace, and its primary goal was to let users check in at their favorite spots and occasionally share photos while there. Unfortunately, the app had lots of features that clogged the interface, the design was subpar, and the user experience was unexceptional. And so it didn't become a success like Systrom envisioned. However, the photo-sharing feature of the app was by far the most popular and used one. And so Systrom, after getting $500,000 in venture capital funding, decided to rebrand the app as Instagram, bring Mike Krieger as a co-founder to help optimize the app design, and focus their efforts only on photo-sharing features. At the time, Facebook was the biggest social media around, and there was no widely used social media app focused exclusively on sharing photos. And needless to say, Instagram was a groundbreaking success as soon as it launched, with more than 25,000 downloads in less than 24 hours, which was a lot more than the servers could handle at the time, thus crashing down the app, and more than 1 million downloads in the first month. And with such an expressive growth, Instagram was on its way to becoming one of the key players in the tech space. For the sake of comparison, at the time, Facebook had 300 million monthly users, Twitter had 100 million monthly users, and the now defunct MySpace had 63 million monthly users. And if you consider that none of them were growing at the same rate as Instagram, it is safe to say that it was on its way to becoming the top player in the social media industry. The only problem was that Instagram was still in its early days, and it wasn't valued nearly as much as it is today. And so all of the bigger and more established social media apps started trying to buy it out. The first one was Twitter, which offered them a little more than $500 million and the chance to help them grow the app. They negotiated for a few months, and the co-founders were on the verge of taking them up on the offer, but they backed out at the last minute. As later became public, the Instagram founders wanted to retain creative freedom over the app and continue working on their vision of what Instagram should become one day. Just a few weeks later, Mark Zuckerberg approached the co-founders in order to buy Instagram, but he was way smarter. He offered $1 billion, complete support from Facebook's team and infrastructure, and the chance to retain control over Instagram's future. This deal was a no-brainer for both of the founders. After all, they now would have the help of one of the most brilliant teams in the social media space, retain control over their product's future, all the while having little to no risk of going under. And so, they took Zuckerberg's offer. Now, a series of private emails from Mark Zuckerberg that was made public years after the acquisition revealed that he bought Instagram primarily for two reasons. First, because he wanted to expand Facebook's presence on mobile phones, which was severely compromised at the time, and since Instagram was already primarily a mobile app, it only made sense to buy it. But more importantly, because he feared that Instagram would become bigger than Facebook, and so he was willing to go any lengths in order to buy it and destroy the competition. Turns out he made the right decision because today, Instagram is one of the biggest image-sharing social media in the world, with more than 1.3 billion active users from all over the world and more than $10 billion in yearly revenue. However, it's not all roses for Instagram, since it has been involved in dozens of scandals and controversies over the years. For instance, the Facebook team has conducted dozens of internal research to find out the effects of Instagram on the mental health of its users. And what they have found out is that Instagram is closely associated with mental issues like depression and anxiety, especially for young teens in their formative years. To make matters worse, there is evidence that Facebook has been doing everything in its power to suppress the results of those researches from going public, as they try to roll out the new version of Instagram aimed particularly at kids and teens. So as you can see, it seems like profit margins are more important for them than the mental health of its users and society at large. What's more, Facebook Inc., now called Meta Platforms Inc., has been under intense criticism over its data collection and storage procedures since the 2016 election. Back then, a former Trump ally with close ties to Facebook and the best data research centers in the world got access to millions of sensitive and private user data. He then used all of this data to create a near-perfect voter profile, which he then could use to pinpoint potential voters and blast them with political ads. Some say this is what allowed Trump to win the 2016 election. After all, without this unprecedented data breach, nobody knows what would be the actual result of that election. But what is perhaps their most recent and potentially catastrophic controversy pertains exactly to its acquisition of Instagram. For instance, Facebook is currently being sued by the Federal Trade Commission and more than 40 US states for buying all of its up-and-coming competitors in order to eliminate competition, thus characterizing a monopoly. Of course, Facebook is denying all the claims, dismissing it as mere criticism on the part of its haters and competitors. But a recent leak of private emails from Mark Zuckerberg at the time of Instagram's acquisition revealed that he indeed bought it in order to undermine competition. To make matters worse, Instagram was not the only up-and-coming social media app Facebook bought with this goal in mind. Now, this legal case is far from over, but if the FTC monopoly claim goes through, Facebook could have to revoke all of the social media acquisitions it has made and let them operate as independent companies. So as you can see, that would be the demise of Meta Platforms as we know it, and would make way for great disruption within the social media space. Now, it is not only government regulatory agencies and competitors that are unhappy with the way Mark Zuckerberg is conducting business, but also the co-founders of Instagram. And that's why they decided to leave Facebook for good back in 2018. According to them, Zuckerberg was systematically taking away much of the support and creative freedom he once promised, and so they decided it was time to part their ways. Now, some inside sources say that Zuckerberg was trying little by little to make Instagram a copycat of Facebook's main app. And because of that, lots of tensions have arisen within the company by those who are not happy with this decision. Well, whether that's true or not, nobody besides those involved can say for sure. But the fact remains, the co-founders of Instagram are no longer part of Facebook's team. And according to them, that was the best decision they could have ever made, since they are now free to pursue other interests. Today, both Kevin Systrom and Mike Krieger are deeply involved in a project called RT Live. The goal of this project is to track the spread of the coronavirus in each of the US states using state-of-the-art machine learning and data analysis algorithms. By doing this, they hope to increase awareness and help spread information about the virus. For the time being, they are solely focused on this project, but they are the first to admit that nobody knows what the future holds for them. After all, as Kevin Systrom said in one interview, there is no industry as unpredictable as the tech and social media space. And as more and more new up-and-coming social media apps try to disrupt the already established ones, everything could change at a whim. As an example of disruptive change, Kevin Systrom has been scouted by TikTok to become its CEO. In 2020, after Trump decided to ban TikTok over national security concerns, ByteDance, TikTok's parent company, has been trying to hire more Americans in order to be seen in good lights by the US government. And because of that, they are looking for an American CEO with unparalleled experience in the social media space. Kevin Systrom and ByteDance negotiated briefly, but it seems like the negotiation didn't go anywhere for now. But if history is any guide, it would be foolish for us to believe that they will not come back to disrupt the social media space once again. Alright, and that was the story of the founders of Instagram. As you can see, they are the brilliant minds responsible for shaping the tech and social media space, and without them, our world would be completely different. Now, I want to hear from you. What surprised you the most about their story? Let me know in the comment section down below. And that's all for today's video. Thanks for watching, and until next time.